kind of a
All
big.
right, I'm going to start the recording. We're going to go from here, and I'm going to see how well I can pay attention to the waiting room. Oh, that is Zagla. I thought it was one. I thought you were coming. There you
I
go.
made it.
Yeah, I know. Where's Alex, right? So,
how do you confuse me with Zagla?
Because it says Juan Bustos.
Oh,
You
okay.
guys look so much alike.
I was gonna say
It's the beard.
it's the beard, right? Look, she's
well,
got.
I know you can't tell my little, dude, No Shave November, day 3, working on a mustache right here. The wife is furious. But the best part is we have family pictures on Saturday, so I can't decide how committed I am to this, if I really want this hanging on my wall.
You look great.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm exploring my options as a firefighter. My dad actually wears a mustache, and he's had it as long as I could ever remember, and it's kind of funny. So let's get this thing started, guys. We're talking about title commitments. Title commitments. This is one of those wonderful things as we...
Yes, baby.
As we do... I'm going to mute you.
Sorry.
Sorry. It's one of the wonderful things that we do as realtors that nobody really understands, at least for a while, because inevitably your first handful of title commitments that you get are going to be something that you have no idea what it is. So you're kind of like, cool, I got it. And then you get lucky and nothing bad happens. And about, your 5th or 6th transaction, all of a sudden something just hits and it's terrible and scary and you don't know what to do. So what we're going to try to do today is get around that and get this done, at least understand what a title commitment is. So I really want to start at the beginning of what is title. Title is the document that shows you own a house. That's what it is. It's got to be registered with the county. It shows basically what it is. Now, if you remember, a deed is the paperwork that you use to transfer a title. And we do most of our stuff at a title insurance company. And they tend to be our escrow officers. Technically, an escrow officer can be anybody, any third-party person. That's what escrow means, is it just literally means third party, somebody who's doesn't have any reason to be in this transaction. And they hold the money, they distribute them funds, and they check all that stuff. 99 times out of 100, you're going to do this with an escrow officer that is employed by a title company because we want title insurance. You can use a lawyer. I've done that before. But most of the time, it's either a lawyer or an escrow officer. And the reason why we work with escrow officers at title insurance companies is because if you're transferring pretty much any property, you want to make sure you do your homework on that title and make sure we have a clean title. And what a clean title means is that they can go back and see every single person that has ever owned that land all the way back to the sovereignty of the land. Once we decided this was part of the United States, and once we decided it was Texas, we can literally track that chain of title the entire way up until today's purchase. So we know exactly who's owned it, who owed money on it, if they paid that money off. And so that's what they're looking for on a clean title. So if you hear about cloudy title, that means something's wrong with that chain of ownership, or there's something attached to it, like maybe a lien or something weird. So the reason why we do this at title companies is because we get title insurance. So when the whole transaction's all said and done, there is going to be insurance on your title. There is a fee for insurance. Just so that you know, title insurance companies are not regulated by TREC. They are regulated by the Texas Department of Insurance. Their fees for insurance are fixed. Title insurance will cost the same at ABC title versus XYZ title. There are some fees that are different, and they call them escrow fees or handling fees. There's always kind of different names. And by the way, we do have an expert on here today named Ginger, who's been in the title game for 30 plus years. And she's going to correct me if I say anything wrong or incorrect. So Ginger, don't be afraid to speak up. So what we do is we want to get title insurance. So on the 1 to 4 family contract, on the very first page, it says who's going to pay for the title insurance. Typically, the seller will pay for the title insurance. They are going to ensure that, yes, we own this property free and clear, and it's kind of their responsibility. However, it is negotiable. But if you're looking for typically the seller does pay for it. And the other thing that comes up in contracts a lot, guys, is typically whoever pays for the insurance gets to pick which title insurance company they go with. Title insurance companies cannot give you any kind of kickbacks, benefits, anything like that. They're basically trying to work on service. They're going to try and take as good a care of you as humanly possible. So with that little background, on title, what is a title commitment? So the first thing you're going to get is if you submit a contract, you're going to get something back. Usually, Ginger, correct me if I'm wrong, I usually feel like it's in the first week-ish that you will get.
Well, right now, with the way the rates have been, it's very difficult to get them out that quick, but we try very hard to get them out within a week. Right now, we're looking at 2 weeks for turnaround times, just due to the fact that the title industry is so, along with the lenders, so very busy.
Right. And so, oh, by the way, I didn't bring this up either, guys. The title, there's a lot of people that are interested in the title and the title insurance. First and foremost, the buyer wants to make sure that they are buying 100% of this property and nobody else can stake claim to it. The second person that's going to be very interested in the title is the lending institution. Whoever's lending the money to this is going to want to make sure there's a clean title as well. So I want to get, so usually within a week or two, you know, most of the time it's a week, but yeah, she's right. It's been a little slow, lots of refinancing, lots of stuff like that going on. I'm going to share my screen so we can see what is going on. All right. Oh, which screen can everybody see? Can everybody see this one right here? This email from Mission Title from Lovely Ginger. Can everybody see that? Nod. Yes. Cool. Okay. So I'm looking at two different screens. I need to get this straightened up because I've got stuff everywhere. Okay. So everybody should see a title commitment. So you get this thing in the email and you're like, what in God's name did they just send me? They sent me something called a title commitment and I don't know what it is. A title commitment has 4 parts and they're called schedules. Schedule A, Schedule B, Schedule C, Schedule D. Okay. So you can see here, Schedule C, right? And I'm going to walk through this. Now, what's really interesting is this particular title commitment is coming from a company called My Title. So the title company is called My Title Company of Texas or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it's called. It's in here somewhere. There it is. My Title Company of Texas. So the whole contract is being held at My Title Company of Texas. So one of the things that might throw you off real quick as we walk through a title commitment, and yes, you as the realtor need to review this on both sides. I don't care if you're buying or selling. But like you said, but I thought I sent all my docs to My Title of Texas. How come the very first page says Stewart Title? Well, as with most large insurance companies, just because you send your check to one person doesn't mean that's the person who's insuring it. A very good example is I used to have USAA insurance. Okay, I would write my check to USAA, I would pay online, I would do all of that stuff. But if you looked at my insurance card, it actually said Garrison Insurance. They were the people actually underwriting and gonna be paying if something goes wrong. So if you see something different on the first page, don't panic. It's not the end of the world. It just means that that's probably the person who's going to actually pay out any claims. And what I mean by pay out claims is once this entire transaction goes through, if somebody comes through and says, hey, that's actually my house, you had no right to sell it, Stewart Insurance will actually pay the 100 and whatever, you know, whatever. This one's insured for $130,000. So they'll pay out the $130,000 saying that was our fault. We should have caught it. So that's how it works. So the first couple of pages, by the way, guys, are usually just conditions and stipulations. Feel free to read through these. I got to be honest, I never really have. What I'm looking, because it always just says our liabilities to you and we promise to pay and we do this. And I Ginger, am I wrong? I'm not really reading any of that stuff.
Yeah, no, it just tells you how to contact the underwriter once you're right. You're right. The underwriter is the insuring factor there.
Yeah, and then guys, and then also you'll see they always have this page on here too. It's like, hey, if we screw up or we do something wrong or illegal, here's how you get us in trouble. You contact the Texas Department of Insurance. So I usually blow through all of this and I'm looking for the scheduled parts of the title insurance. Yes, you need to look at all 4 sections. Okay. Section 1, guys, Schedule A. You just need to check for accuracy. You want to know what date they're doing this. Oh, look, we promise that this is good from October 4th to October 30th. If we hit October 30th, or this is when we issue.
Colin, let me jump in there.
Sorry.
Okay. The effective date, the title plants are only up to a certain date, usually about 2 weeks behind where we are right now from the recorded documents in the courthouses and the court records. So that's your effective date. Your issue date is the day the examiner finishes the review of the insurance of the documents and they say, okay, we've issued it on this date. We're only good up through October 4th in this case, but we issued on October 30th. So you got a 2-week, almost 3-week gap in there where we are not able to see the recorded documents in that time frame. So we can't insure through those dates, and that's what that is.
Gotcha. But, and then, so what I'm looking for here is I want to make sure all of this looks correct to the transaction that I'm working on. So I'm selling a house for $133,000. We are selling the house. The people that are buying it are right here. They are getting a loan on this. And like I said, the mortgage company is very, very vested in this. So they want to make sure their name's on it. So, and then these are the borrowers. And then I want to make sure that it also has the sellers in here. I don't know why I'm not seeing it. Oh, here it is.
Right.
Okay. 26 Flips LLC, a Texas limited liability company. So I want to make sure, and then also that the legal description is correct. You do want to manually check this, guys. One of the silliest things that that I'm really bad about catching, but good title people, good escrow people are, is sometimes there's a typo either in the records or on your contract. You need to make damn sure that this right here matches everything else. Actually, I wrote a contract the other day, which I kind of giggled about, that I caught it, which I'm the worst at catching detail-oriented things, that I put the correct legal description, but I put the wrong address. I transcribed some of the numbers in the address. It's going to pop up, guys. It's going to pop up. So make sure you check all of this stuff. Ginger, is there anything on Schedule A?
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about Schedule A. Okay, in this case, let's go to number 3 where you were, your vesting. The vesting is going to be your last deed of record. So you want to make sure that you look at that, and is that your seller or is it not your seller? If it says see requirements on Schedule C, there may be deceased parties, there may be something going on, there's issues affecting the vesting on Schedule C. You may see additional names, and this comes up periodically when you have your seller selling, but then all of a sudden the prior owner is on there as well, and you're like, why is that there? There could be a deceased party, and then all of a sudden you are dealing with the fact that somebody passed away, and maybe their estate wasn't taken care of, and so super important to look at this.
So what you're looking for, guys, in baby steps, this right here needs to be the exact same as the seller. Now, this is a different contract, so it's not going to match up. But this, if this says Mary Elizabeth Gallegos and this says Mary Elizabeth Gallegos and John Smith Gallegos or whatever, I got homework to do. Mary cannot sell this house by herself if there's more names on the recorded title. Okay. Oddly enough, that happens weird a lot with married couples or divorcing couples or separated, you know what I mean? That'll happen. And like Ginger said, it'll also happen if grandma died and left it to 3 of her kids and 2 of the kids are trying to sell it, but it turns out there's actually a 3rd kid that you got to go hunt down. Does that make sense to everybody? Smile and nod. Yeah, nobody. Okay, thank you, Tim.
Quick question.
Yeah.
So if there is a deceased party, as part of the homework, if we can get everybody to re-sign the 1 to 4 family contract, that should solve the problem. That's one of the ways that the problem can be solved.
That is not necessarily necessary at that time. It can be signed. A lot of times we sign them at the contract and closing. If I have multiple heirs, I may put a signature page of the contract and have them all sign the contract at that time. You can do an amendment, adding them all in. And having them sign on an amendment, that might work, but as a broker, your broker needs to answer that part of it, how it affects the contract. But as far as title, we can look at it different ways, and every closer does it a little bit differently.
Right. So to answer your question, Edmond, what I would do, so Schedule A, guys, Schedule A, confirm against your contract. That's your responsibility. Make sure that looks the same as this, and the buyers look the same as that. Does that make sense? The price is the same. Make sure all of that stuff matches up. If it doesn't match up, step 1 is call the escrow officer. Okay. Hey, what's going on? Talk to me. Okay. you guys, you always defer to the experts. Okay. When she says, hey, you need to amend the contract, the broker is the expert in the contract.
Right.
He's the expert on the title. Okay. So I would start by calling Ginger or whomever, right? Call Ginger. Ginger, what's going on? Hey, look, here's the story, whatever it might be, and go. But Schedule A is the quickest and easiest for me to do. I just take the contract out and I just look at it. And very seldomly do I have any problems with Schedule A. Okay.
Watch your legals on your contracts. We catch that too. A lot of times the contract will not match the legal description, which actually was recorded. Sometimes you're working off their CAD or the CADs and tells you. So you just kind of want to make sure that you double check it. Sometimes it's typing your contract so fast, it's just little typo errors.
So Ginger, I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
This one right here, this contract, it's not the one for the title policy, so it's going to be
Right,
a little
of course.
different. But what I do, so just ignore this. This is for 2 lots, you know, a house and then a second lot, so it's a little different. But what I normally do, and tell me if you like this, is block 79. I'll put 79,
Mm-hmm.
and then it'll say lot in 115 foot of 11. So basically, you guys, normally it would say like lot 11. So I'd put 11 here. And then I usually put the entire legal description in this space behind here. Are you okay with that?
That is very helpful.
Okay.
The way you've got it, at least it helps us when we're turning in our orders. But at this company, our company, we pull the CAD. We try to pull as much information as we possibly can before we send it to our title plant to make sure that what is being requested is matching the address in A there with the legal description to make sure it's all the same. And we want to make sure that our title plant is able to, we're helping them as much as possible up front.
Yeah, and guys, I got to be honest. Like, I think Ginger's primary responsibility is going to be looking at the legal description. Guys, for those of y'all that don't know how to find a legal description, it's in the property search. Okay. This house on that title is 504 West South Cross. Okay. So when I went to list this and put it in the MLS, the first thing I did was pull up, oh, good Lord, this is taking forever. But I pull up this and it gives me the legal description. Okay. So block C, lot 23, and then I take this whole thing and put it in the contract. And then if you notice over here, 23, block C, new city block 782, then she added in a bunch of other stuff that they actually get from the Bexar County records.
Right, but see the Pleasanton Park and look at your CAD. Your CAD says Harlandale.
Yeah.
So it's not the same necessarily. So it's not what you're looking for. We were looking for the lot, the block, and the NCB, and we can usually move forward with that.
Gotcha. So those match up, so I'm good. All right. On to Schedule B, guys. Schedule B explains anything that they're not going to cover. So if you decide to file an insurance claim, this right here tells you what they are not going to cover. So most of the time, guys, it's things like deed restrictions, any easements, building liens could be in here. Basically, we're not covering that. Ginger, I'm sorry.
HOA, we take exception to items on Schedule B.
Yeah, they're
Yes,
not going to
yes.
cover it. You can sue them saying you didn't tell me that they don't care. They're not covering it.
Right.
Now, by the way, guys, where's that contract I pulled up? If you're wondering where this goes, it's right here in the contract. Okay. If you go to the 1 to 4 family contract, and then there's some extra videos that I put in there, guys, that explains this. If they are going to insure that stuff, you need to put it in here on the contract. Who's paying for that extra insurance? Okay. Now there's certain things they just flat out will not. I mean, they're not going to insure an easement. You know, if it's a City of San Antonio easement or something like that, you know, they're not going to insure it.
Colin,
Yes, ma'am.
the section of the contract you were just in is about boundary coverage, about survey boundary lines. It's your property lines. And what is going on there is that when you're marking that, and you have to have a survey for this coverage, the coverage is available to the owner that says if somebody is trying to come and claim square footage rights to the property affecting your boundary line, then the underwriter who insures the transaction, as discussed earlier, will come back and they're going to say, they're going to fight the battle for that owner and say, hey, we need to see proof that that's keeping the owner from having to hire an attorney when the underwriter is going to do that, fight that battle. And this has to do with boundary lines. And that's exactly what that section is. And so you want to be very specific. If you're not going to have a survey, then obviously you don't want to have that. But if you have a property that doesn't have a fence line, or you know that there could possibly be issues, then you may want to consider this coverage. And the amount for that coverage is determined by what type of property it is and who's going to pay for it. So you have the coverage is either going to be 10% of the owner's title policy premium or 15% or 5%. It's the coverages vary depending on the property.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So, that's why I have Ginger here. Okay. So Schedule B, guys, I'm real quick through that because they're not going to cover this stuff. So I'm not too worried about it. What I tend to jump right to is Schedule C.
Now, keep in mind, Colin, I'll jump in on Schedule C. This first section that you're at right now, this is what we call promulgated language. And no matter what title company it is, this language is the same all the way through here until you usually start getting to a general or requirements. Every title company is a little bit different as they start getting into what are the issues that are coming up.
I'm going to go, this is one that Ginger just sent me earlier today, guys. So as you can see, Schedule A, I obviously don't have this contract, but who's buying it, how much. Oh, by the way, fee simple. If y'all remember, guys, fee is like literally
Real property.
Yeah, just ownership, right? So simple means there is one owner. There's nothing complicated. 9 times out of 10, guys, you want a fee simple title. I mean, just that means I own it, nobody else. There's no contingencies or weirdness or whatever. So when we get down to Schedule C, she's saying this is the promulgated, I mean, basically just the legal mumbo jumbo that they put on there to CYA. And then.
And here, I'm going to jump right here. See this paragraphs in here? It talks about shortages in area right there, survey coverage. If your client says, no, I don't want all that, they have to tell us in writing. Other than that, they're going to get that coverage. We're going to charge it. And you can tell that depending on what parts are, it follows. You got 5% of the basic premium or 15% for commercial properties. So that depends. And it tells you right here in the commitment, talks about that. And in the restrictions, the covenant also, same thing. So this is coverages and what those premium amounts are and what they're based off of. So they're in the commitment. And if let's told otherwise, we move forward with providing that coverage.
Schedule C, guys, is the one you really need to read thoroughly, okay? This is where problems come up, okay? This is where they're going to tell you that we need to resolve these things prior to closing, okay? She's saying on this Schedule C, so these are the things you can change, and 9 times out of 10 have to change. So she's saying, hey, look, we're going to go ahead and insure this. You need to tell us if you don't want us to, but we're planning on it. Here's additional insurance for based on the encroachments, mineral right encroachment, all that good stuff. I'm trying to find.
You're looking for the security. Keep going. Items to bring to closing, normal, standard, valid driver's license off. Must come with a valid driver's license or a passport.
Yeah.
Not taking any other types of IDs anymore. There's your additional requirements right there.
Those are additional requirements. This, guys, is so easy to miss because it is buried into this document. But in this particular one, let's read through these requirements. These things have to be figured out before we close. Here's Ginger. I'm gonna throw escrow people under the bus just a second here.
All right. All right.
They hustle to get the title commitment out. They're trying to do that as quick as they possibly can to make sure they can even insure it. But let's say she gets it out in 2 weeks, but the closing's not for another 2 months or a month, right? She's not going to sit here and harp on you. She's got other things to do. So she's probably not going to look at this again for a little while. So it's important for you to get in here and jump on this. You got to get in here and you got to jump on it because, or call and ask like, hey, what's going on here? So let's take a look at these real quick. The deed of trust executed by Sam Seller and Mary Seller to Tim Jones, recorded on this thing, official public records, securing deadbeat lending. It's funny. In payment for one note of $215,000 is due. Guys, they owe money on this house. They owe $215,000. Okay, do you know that? Sometimes they may say, well, I don't have any additional liens, just my mortgage. If that's the mortgage company, so what? Okay, we knew about it. It's going to get figured out. That's easy. Am I wrong on that one?
That's correct. That's the mortgage.
Okay, good. Second one, claiming a mechanic's lien by Paul's Pool. Hey, Miss Seller, Sam Seller, did you not pay the pool company that fixed your pool? Because they're about to yank $25,000 out of the proceeds of this house.
Or we need a release.
Or, yeah, yes, I did pay them.
Yeah,
Good.
start asking questions.
I need you to call the pool company and get something called a release of lien. Ginger's going to need to see that. Okay. If they didn't, let's pretend that this $25,000 puts you, let's say you're selling the house for $220,000. If we're selling the house for $220 and you owe the mortgage $215 and you owe this guy $25, you can't sell it for $220. That will stop the sale of this property. So you need to figure that out. Okay. Payment of any of all ad valorem taxes. Ad valorem means at value. That's just basically your property taxes. Am I right on that one?
That's great.
Thank you. Company requires the assessment or current maintenance charges due, if any, to be paid in full. Again, guys, if there's no maintenance charges, nobody knows, we're fine.
HOA.
Yeah.
HOA.
So this is what you're looking for, guys. Ginger, I'll let you go into the curative matters because I don't, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, this is a federal tax lien. Guess what? If you see this right here, you're screwed again. This is like a death sentence because and what the worst part about this is, guys, it doesn't matter if this is the seller or the buyer. It doesn't matter. If the buyer owes $42,000 in taxes, he cannot buy this house because the way that IRS sees it is like, hey, look, you got money to buy a house, you got money to pay me. So that will stop something.
The
Now,
lender will stop that. They'll
Say it again.
want something.
Say it one more time.
The lender will inquire about that if it's
Yeah,
a buyer.
The lender will get in on that because then all of a sudden, yeah, lenders are real strict about this. But this is Sam Seller.
Mhm.
So this is the house seller. Again, if we're trying to sell this house for $220,000, he owes $215,000, $25,000, and $42,000. He ain't selling it for $220,000. Ain't gonna happen. Or he's got to pay these two debts off first and show releases of those liens.
Or pay in closing, come to the closing with money.
Oh yeah, or yeah, you can pay the title company.
Right.
Next one. If Mary's dead, you need to prove that she's dead and that she's paid for everything, okay? If she left no will, affidavitations. I got to be honest, guys, if I see anything like this, I just call Ginger. I don't know what any of that means. Ginger, do you want to walk through that?
Well, this is where I was saying a little bit earlier. You have to watch your vesting, and then you have to look at this, and you have to say, hold on, this is part of my red flags I'm trying to always bring up is say, if you're an agent and you're talking to a client and they said, I need to sell my mom's house. Well, boom, there's some questions immediately. Why are you selling mom's house? Where's mom? Mom's died, she's dead. And so, okay, is there a will? Was it probated? Is there an affidavit of heirship? There's many questions to start asking. Then you want to know, well, did mom own it by herself? Oh no, dad her owned it, but she automatically gets everything. And you're like, no, not necessarily. Not without proper documentation for a chain of title. You have to have a chain of title. You don't want to have a gap. And this is the questions you have to start asking. And if you're not sure what to ask, then you pick up the phone, you call us and you say, hey, this is what they're telling me. What are my next steps? What do we do?
Right.
So,
And again, Colin's simplified answer, call Ginger or call whoever issued this. Talk to me. What do you need? Okay. Now I'm going to say this also real quick. And Ginger, I mean, again, title companies, they can only provide service. They can't give you any kind of kickback. They can't buy you lunch and take you out to, right?
We can buy lunch, but we can't
Well,
give
we
any
can buy lunch.
kickbacks.
Yeah,
We
they can't
cannot
take
give legal advice. We are not attorneys and we are not real estate agents.
Now, there are attorneys in the office,
Yes, at times.
but they do not represent you.
Right.
So you can't ask them, like, you can't hire them. They are a third party. They don't represent you. There's an attorney in there somewhere, and they'll tell you if it's sufficient, but they won't tell you, how to write it, unless you pay them, and then that's a whole nother story. But guys, so this right here is you just need to call and say, what do I need to do to get this taken off? Once again, the minute you get the title commitment, you need to be reading through this. Because if you wait till 3 days before closing, when the closing disclosures come out, there's no way you're going to be able to get all this stuff done in 3 days. So that's why they send it out as soon as they can, because if there is problems, it gives you time to do it. It is not the escrow officer's responsibility to go get the probated will, to go get, unless it is publicly documented through the county, they can find that. But if it's like you got to go to grandma's house and dig through her boxes and find this thing, that's not their responsibility. Technically, that's the seller's responsibility or whomever, right? But it's your responsibility to say, hey, go get it. Because if not, we're not closing this transaction. So don't lean on your escrow people. Like, don't expect them to go do that stuff for you. They'll
Quick
answer
question.
questions all day long, but they're not going to go hunt stuff down.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Would it be fair to assume that the escrow or title officer would let us know this when they're sending the title commitment? Like, give us a call and say, hey, we found some clouded title that needs to be addressed. Or would they just send the email and be done with it?
In my experience, a good one will. And I'm not saying that the good ones, if they don't do it, then they're bad. I'm not saying that either. Sometimes they're just in a hurry. You know how it is. Sometimes you pop off an email and you forgot that you needed to say XYZ to that person, right? That's kind of usually what happens. The good ones, in my opinion, will say, hey, look, did you read that? Especially the ones that I work with frequently, because they know my attention to detail, get a little tension problem. They will say, hey, Colin, you need to read that, or hey, did you see that? Ginger, your experience?
My experience is that, when I pick up, they bring me my files, I go glance through my reports real quick, I look at it and I make notes and I say, okay, here, when you send the commitment out, this is what we're dealing with. Now, my assistant is very good about picking up the phone and saying, hey, look, we've got a deceased party, or we got this going on. Do you have more information? But not every closer is like that. You have different levels of closers and knowledge and experience of things. And you've got new closers and you've got long-term closers who know a lot of things. It just depends. So we try to do our best at trying to point these things out, but it doesn't always happen. So it doesn't mean that they're not a good closer. That just means that they just either are busy or just didn't have the knowledge enough to let you know up front. That's why it's important for you to learn how to read a commitment.
Right.
Thank you.
And just like I said in a couple of videos ago when we were talking about loan originators, or we're talking about, you need to have a team of people around you. You need to go to any networking events, take cards. I keep them all together because if I notice somebody's not helping me out or not catching these kind of things, I might, my next one, I might try and use somebody else and see if that goes any better, guys. You really want, experience speaks high levels for it. I always feel bad saying, well, I'm not going to use them, you're not experienced, because how do they get any experience, right? But, just these guys work on, it's a service industry. So they want to be able to provide the service. The good ones that can look at these things quickly and that communicate well are going to be the best ones, in my opinion. But it's all about communication. 100% of problems are problems of communications. So with that being said, and so there's a warranty deed file. Okay, so we'll get to Schedule D. But guys, the most common things, I made a list that I see. Most common things that I've seen are errors in public records, like the documents don't have the right numbers, the right ad, whatever. That's a big one. So you got to be very specific about that. Any unknown liens, like that one earlier, there was a mechanics lien because they never paid the pool company. There, that kind of stuff. IRS, those are, big liens that need to be addressed. So be looking out for liens.
Colin,
Yes, ma'am.
can jump in more time. On Schedule C, a lot of times what will happen is we, as a title company, we do a similar name search. So we're going to look at similar names to the parties on the contracts or what our order is. And they're going to start coming in. They're going to say, hey, we're picking up bankruptcies, child support liens. Child support liens are big. Judgments, all sorts of things. And I go, well, this doesn't affect it. This is my house, or I can sell it, and this has nothing to do with it. Well, it does. It attaches. It attaches to what they own.
And
So therefore, those things have to be addressed.
Ginger, that was actually on my list. Was one of them was common names.
Right.
Because the guys, I mean, I live in San Antonio, Texas. If I go and I sell Juan Gonzalez's house, that's all I know. His name is Juan Gonzalez. Dear Lord, I promise you, this thing will be littered with things that Juan Gonzalez has done. Now, it may not be the Juan Gonzalez I'm talking to. You know what I mean? There's obviously a lot of Juan Gonzalez's in Seguin. So it's going to pull up all that stuff. So I need to be able to provide that it's not my Juan Gonzalez. So if you happen to know his middle name, if his name is Juan Anthony Gonzalez, that helps. That'll knock off a lot of them. Okay. That's why proper identification is very important. That's why being able to find out who they are it is super important. So sometimes, correct me if I'm wrong, Ginger, you're going to start asking for social security numbers.
We have a pre-close form that goes out with our contracts. So we have a pre-close form that asks all that information. It goes out with our contracts.
That's about, hold on, I'm gonna get to that.
Okay.
You guys, that was on my bottom one, guys. Sorry, I'll jump to it, whatever. Well, one of the things I was gonna tell you is as soon as you submit a contract, most of the time that escrow officer is gonna send you back a form that says, I need the seller's information form filled out. Don't ignore that. It's gonna say, what is his middle name? Where has he lived? What, you know what I mean? We're trying to find out who exactly this person is. And the more common the name, the more important that's going to be. Child support liens are a big one. I've had people put liens on past apartments for a Juan Gonzalez, and they don't provide them. I mean, and some of these get real arbitrary that you've got to figure out and make sure we're not talking about the same guy. And that's just super important, guys. If they send you something to fill out, send it to your clients, have them fill it out, resubmit it, because that's going to make this whole process a lot smoother. Missing errors, that's a big one. That's a big common problem that I see a lot. Survey or boundary issues. Sometimes they have a survey on file that they used and they sent a T47 in whenever they sold it or bought it originally. You know, when we fast forward and, you know, they've added a fence and they didn't put the fence on the right side of the lot, guys, that'll start causing problems as well. Last part, guys, is Schedule D. I don't ever read Schedule D because it's just disclosures.
Right. Tells you the underwriters are who your title company officers are.
Yeah, it just tells you who everybody is.
Mm-hmm. Estimated premiums.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, premiums, guys, are set. You can actually figure this out. You can just Google title insurance premiums in Texas, and it'll give you a formula to figure out exactly how much it is. If it's less than, what is it, Ginger? Less than $100,000, it's pretty square. But once it gets above that, then it's like multiply it times 7,000 minus 0.8 times whatever it is. It's some crazy equation, but you can figure it out. And as you get used to seeing this, guys, I mean, I can't remember what this house is selling for. I mean, you can come up here and look. It's selling for $50,000, right? And it's a $500 title policy. So if I'm selling a house for $50,000 and this shows up and it says that it's $6,000, like, wait a minute, what's happening? You call and ask the question. That means they're insuring other stuff. Yeah, but I honestly never read Section D, guys. It just tells you, it's just all their legalese stuff again.
Right, A through C, most important.
Yeah, A through C is most important, mainly C. C is where the problems hide. And that's easy for Colin to remember. So, questions, comments, concerns. How much fun is this? Title insurance. Who loves insurance? I love insurance. Hey,
I do.
Say it again, Ginger.
I do.
Yeah. See, and that's why that's why we love you. That's why we do what we do.
I do have a question.
Yeah. What's up, Kim?
So I'm actually working on my very first contract. It's on a lot. Anyway, but so the buyer, yeah, the buyer's agent is the one who originally, obviously she filled out the contract and sent some stuff over to me. Then I sent it over to the title company, and then the title company from there will do the commitment, correct?
The
Correct.
Or
title
is there-
company is going to be looking for the fully executed contract to move forward with opening their title order.
Okay, so once they have that, then they can start moving forward, right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
And one other thing, guys, this is talking very specifically about title insurance. Do you have to have title insurance to buy a property? Nope, you don't. It's dangerous. It's very dangerous to buy a property without title insurance. I've done it.
And the reason you want title insurance, because if you don't have title insurance, you have purchased somebody else's problem. And if somebody else had a problem, I had transactions a while back in several years, and I kept coming across prior owners' liens, and I finally told my seller, I said, "Are you buying these properties without title insurance?" "Oh yeah, we don't need them." I said, "Well, you just bought that $3,000 judgment that belonged to your prior owner, or the $15,000 one. Now you're going to have to come up with that money because you were not thinking that you needed title insurance, and you do. It's very important because now they had no way to protect themselves, and they have to pay that prior owner's debt."
Yeah, the other thing, guys, like you can buy a property the way like a lot of investors will, because I know we have a lot of investors out here. You'll talk to your attorney and you'll get something called an opinion of title. Okay, she's just simply saying, yeah, title looks clean. That's her opinion. Okay, there's no guarantee. Insurance is guaranteeing that it will be clean at closing. And I will say this, you cannot, I can't imagine a lender alive that's going to lend on something that does not have insured title. So if there's a lender involved, you're going to have it.
And there may be some that every once in a while will say, yeah, we're going to take exception to it, move it to Schedule B. And so guess what? That lien moves to Schedule B and it's still there. So if something comes up, the title company's saying, hey, we told you about it. We're not insuring it.
Right.
So they might be willing to deal with that not.
So guys, if y'all can still see my screen, you see Ginger right here? Write down her phone number. She works for Mission Title. Isn't Mission Title, Ginger, like the oldest title? Like y'all have got like the records from a bajillion years back, right?
I know. We've been around for 17 years and I've been with Mission for 11 of those 17. But prior to that, I have my 30 years total.
Yeah. So, and then I had to ask her this too, guys. She's got a CESP, which I had to ask her, Certified Escrow Settlement Professional. So she's been to extra school, and the way she was singing it didn't sound like fun. So she's basically got her master's degree in escrow.
Hey, I like that one.
Yeah. So if you've got a question, not a bad person to call. Also, guys, if you don't have a title person that you know, start with Ginger. This is a great place to start. Because you remember, guys, on your MLS listings, let me see if I can find one here. On your MLS listings, here we go. This is one that I sent myself. They always have, because the seller typically pays title insurance, the seller typically says who they want to use. So in almost every listing, come on. So if I'm going to go look at that listing I just got, it will say on here, listing agent, all this stuff, phone number to show, where am I at? Right here, preferred title company. They want Alamo Title. Angie Sanchez. This is a lazy realtor because you might want to put their name and address and all that stuff so they know who to contact. But not throwing Angelita, or excuse me, Humberto under the bus. But I mean, you got to give me some more information so I can get this to title if I need to get a hold of them. But guys, if you have a listing, you need to find a title. You need to find an escrow company or escrow officer, title company that you like. All right. So questions, comments, concerns, anybody else? 7 more minutes. Nobody?
My comments, I would jump in and say, when you're working with a client and you start hearing things and you want to know more, that's when you pick up phone, you call and you ask. If, you know, like I said earlier, I'm selling mom's house, or, hey, I owe the IRS, I'm going to sell my house, I need to sell the other property I own. You need to ask questions, why, what's going on, and, you know, pick up phone while you're with the client and call and say, hey, you know, my cell number is right there. Call and say, hey, Ginger, this is what's going on. This is what they're telling me. You know, we have many people that say, oh, you know what? My brother doesn't get anything. I'm the one who took care of my mom. It's like, yeah, no, that's not how this works. You know, it's a chain of title. Everybody has to sign. It doesn't matter if they're I've got one right now. We have 7 sellers, and the people are saying, hey, no, my mom left it to me, but your dad didn't. Your dad had an affidavit of heirship and left it to all of his children and not to mom. It didn't go to mom. So mom didn't get to make the determining factor. Dad died first, but now he thinks the rest of his siblings don't have to sign, and they do. So I'm getting ready to have to make that phone call and call him. And so explain that to him. So there's just listen for the key things. And if you're not sure, pick up phone and call us.
Yeah.
And I get calls on the weekend. I get calls on the weekend going, sorry to bother you, but can I ask you a quick question? Oh, sure. If I'm available, I'll answer the phone. If I'm not, just leave me a message or I can call you back. But
Yeah. Again, guys, it's that service, right? It's that kind of service. Because guess when you get to talk to your clients?
Weekends.
Right? I mean,
night.
they're working 9 to 5 and they call you at 6 o'clock going, hey, I saw a couple emails. What does that mean? You need to find somebody that'll do the service. Don't abuse it though. Y'all know better than that, right? Don't abuse people just because they do answer the phone doesn't mean you need to beat them up. So that's all I have for today. And hopefully everybody feels a lot smarter. Uh-oh. Zagla was outside and I kicked her out. She got out and I didn't even notice. So anyhow, guys, go out there and kill it now that you have something. Don't worry, I'm going to record this. And one more time, guys, if you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel or not on the group page for the people that are new here, you got to get on that because that's where this stuff is. Last week, everybody was kind of giving me a hard time because I seemed a little short doing my presentation last week because, you know, we keep getting a lot of the same questions that we have reviewed and gone over and posted multiple videos on. So guys, take a second, go through those videos, look at them. We're here to help. I want to answer every question you have. But just like y'all, I'm busy. So if I've already answered it 3 times, yeah, I apologize. But make sure you're on those videos. Check this kind of stuff out. Refer back to this one the minute you get a title. If it's your first title commitment, refer back to this and walk through it. Yes, it's going to take you an hour. Sorry. But you get better and better and better every time you go. So thank you so much, guys. Have a good day.